Today we are building some easy to install floating shelves that will be great for any space in your home, specifically in my home office, and we're gonna add some pretty cool lighting to them as well. As you guys know, I've been working on my home office makeover, and I recently painted this accent wall black, which I absolutely love, but now I need to introduce some storage into this space. I have this entire wall to utilize storage space on, so I'm thinking 2 or 3 floating shelves that will go across the entire wall. I do want to introduce some lighting into this space, so I have 2 sconces on order, which will go on both sides of the floating shelves. That will make the floating shelves a little bit more center on the wall. I also want to introduce some lighting underneath the floating shelves, and all of this lighting will kind of tie in the theme that I have going for my home office. My name is Brittany from A Home Come True, and let's tackle this DIY project. Okay, I have my plans here, and I'm going to start cutting the pieces for the floating shelves out of this 3/4 inch oak plywood. I have my circular saw, and I will be using this to cut these pieces down. Wait, do I even know how to use this thing? Now, as long as I cut all of my pieces correctly, I will get exactly 2 floating shelves out of this 4x8 piece of plywood. So that will give me 2 tops, 2 bottoms, 4 sides, and 2 fronts. This is a little bit of an advanced build, so every edge that we cut out of this plywood will be beveled at a 45-degree angle. Because of that, I am going to start on one end, and I'm starting with all of the side pieces. An 8-foot piece of plywood is 96 inches. Each one of my shelves I want to be 82.5 inches. So I do want to start on the shorter end, only because if I decide that I want my shelves to be longer, I have that option. I have 13.5 inches at the end of my plywood. I only need 10 because I don't want to go any wider than 10 inches on the shelves. That leaves me about 3 inches for any error, any mistakes that might happen. I do need to set my circular saw to have a mitered edge of 45 degrees. And then we'll do some measurements, and we'll start getting these edges cut. Now my Milwaukee, I just realized I'm missing the piece. I'm missing the front piece to keep my blade at a 45-degree angle, so luckily I was able to find this little metal fastener, but you should have a little knob at the front of your circular saw, and you can read the angle on the Milwaukee right at the front here. It's got a little arrow. So I'm gonna open this just up to 46 degrees, a little bit more than 45 degrees there, and I'm gonna stick my little makeshift nut back in there. And my bolt. Okay, so we have our circular saw at a 45-degree angle. Let's get to cutting. Okay, I have my first cut for these end pieces done. So this is 10 inches exactly, and I measured from 10 to 10 and 1/8 of an inch to take into consideration the saw blade. So that is a pro tip for you. You always want to take into consideration about 1/8 of an inch for the saw blade cut. Since we are going at a 45-degree miter angle, it did give it this really nice mitered angle here on both sides. So I have that facing down towards the bottom. This will be the inside of the box. And then I still have yet to miter the sides of each piece. I would say this went over very well. I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. But here's that beveled edge that I was talking about. Looking pretty good. It's time to cut the longer pieces for the shelves. Now, I will say that doing this with a circular saw is pretty difficult, as making any long cut with a circular saw just is I don't know, in my opinion, kind of higher maintenance and it takes a little bit more effort. If you have a table saw at home, you can definitely use a table saw, but this entire project, so many vehicles. And another one. Everybody with their big trucks. Now, if you do have a table saw, I would suggest using a table saw, as this will give you a little bit more control and make your cuts a lot easier. This entire project can definitely be done with just a circular saw though, as I am doing here. So it just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit more time. I just found these in a box in my garage. Would you want floating shelves like this? Or the ones that we're making today? These aren't very aesthetic at all. Pretty simple. I have all of the pieces cut for the first shelf and I'm getting really excited, so I want to try to assemble this one before I move on to making the second shelf. So for each shelf, we're gonna have a top and a bottom, and again, each one of my shelves are 10 inches, and then we have a front which determines the width, and then we have our two side pieces which also determine the width. To assemble these shelves, I'm going to be using some reinforced tape to tape the edges, and then I'm essentially just going to fold it together like a hollow box. Trying to find where the tape starts on a new roll is very tricky. All right, there we go. Also, in the case that you do have any imperfections in your cuts, make sure you point those imperfections towards the back of the shelf, which would be the side that's closest to the wall. Wow. Yay! I was a little nervous because I wasn't for sure how close they were supposed to be together, but this is actually looking really good. Now let's see if our side pieces fit. I think this is going to work. What I am noticing is because the top is so heavy, it keeps wanting to buckle in without the sides. There's really no support to hold it during the gluing process. I'm going to take some scrap pieces of plywood and make some additional support pieces. Okay. So we have one done. We're gonna leave this to dry overnight, and in the meantime, we're going to start making the wall mounting to mount these shelves and give it that floating shelf appearance. So I probably should have stained this before I put it up, but I was really excited to get it up to test to make sure the base was gonna work, make sure it's gonna fit okay. But I'm really excited to start seeing the color on this wall. I just can't wait. I'm just doing this project in all different sorts of parts. And I still have to make the second shelf too, so. Wow, I'm absolutely loving how this is turning out so far. I'm a little hesitant about the height. I feel like it's a little high on the wall for a second shelf. I think I am still gonna try to get a second shelf in here, but I had to install it at this height because I have a desk and my desk monitor arms lift the monitors up off the desk a certain height, and then this height was chosen on what I thought was an acceptable height above those lifted monitors where I could still be able to reach while standing. Just with the thickness of the shelf and how big it is, I almost feel like if I do another shelf, the wall might look a little crowded, it might get too close to the ceiling. I might not be able to utilize that space as best as possible, which I was kind of just thinking more for display, books that I won't get down very often or I won't need to have down very often, those kinds of things. So I kind of have some decisions to make. Let me know in the comments what you guys would do. I'm gonna have to think about this for a little bit. Good. The shelves are up and the sconces are up. So the last thing we need to do to finish this project is install our extra cool lighting. The lighting that I chose for this space, I feel like is really going to illuminate the theme, illuminate the room. So for the sconces, I chose battery powered lights. To add to these lights, I bought some under cabinet or under shelf lighting, and these are really cool because these are RGB lights. These RGB lights are a lot nicer than the string lights I was trying to install. They give off more light and they detach with the magnet from the 3M tape, so they are rechargeable. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get these installed so we can wrap this project up and show you guys the final result. So all of these turn on with the touch of a remote, and I already have the color set to what I want. Now, I was kind of already playing around with these, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. So these have 3M tape on them, like I already said. So should I put them here underneath? And then the light shines down, but then the bottom ones would be here, right? And they're not shining down on anything. I kind of want them to illuminate what's on the shelf, right? Or I could stick them towards the back. Wraps up this project. These shelves were inspired by the IKEA Lack floating shelves, but I wanted to make something that was a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and just put my DIY and woodworking skills to the test. I feel like I really accomplished that here. I also really love the lighting that I chose. I really think the under shelf, under cabinet, RGB lights contribute to really lighting up these shelves and letting us see what is on there. It looks really cool when the lights are off as well, and hopefully I was able to capture that for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Should I use the 3M tape to attach those RGB lights to the bottom of each shelf, or should I leave them as I have placed now? We are just about done with the home office makeover, and this accent wall turned out super good. The space behind me will have my desk and computer in it the next time that you guys see it. Stay tuned for the next video where I will be wrapping up the home office. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.